Well, good day and welcome to you. It is June the 20th. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you happen to be. My name is Gary Willing, and I want to welcome you to Search for Signs. And I just want to point out, if you want to know more about this information, let's say you've heard a video or so in the past, and you're like, what is this guy's deal? I just got to know more, though, about it, because I just don't like not knowing. Well, the best thing to do is check out some of the websites that I provided links for in the description portion of these videos. You can go right to these websites. Information's free, gives you some wonderful background information about what we talk about. If you're somebody who's checked out all the links, guess what? I've actually provided a couple more links here recently that I need to let you know about too, that you can check out, and maybe you can learn a little bit more about this information as well. All right, now, before I get into it, I do want to give a shout out and thank Evan Bella Adam, Zen Bold Bearings, thank you for your comments. Dorhe Driftwood, I want to thank you for replying to Bold Bearings' comment. I was getting ready to do it, and you beat me to it, and I like what you said, so you saved me the time of having to reply, so thank you so much for that. Ike Simerson, I see that you don't particularly agree with what I have to say, but that's okay. I want to say this, too, before I answer Derek's question. I watch a lot of videos about a lot of different things, whether it's and I go on, and I spend the majority of my time online is on YouTube. And I watch political videos. I watch political videos from the left, from the right. And the more I kind of get to know some of these people, the more they're starting to sound more crazy. And the crazier they sound. And I can't help but put it on me and go, I'm sure that you guys who listen to this information think I'm totally off the reservation. You know, I've fallen out of my tree, as they say. But at least I just present this information for you to look at. And I'm not trying to convince you otherwise to believe something different. But I know it sounds crazy. So, Ike, I do understand why you think what you think. So, you know, and truth be told, when I first heard about this information, first read Benjamin Creme's book, Maitreya's Mission, Volume 2, guess what? I thought it was crazy too. I didn't believe it at all. But I have to admit that when I watch other videos and I start relating it back to what I talk about here on this video and how crazy it must sound, I have to say I get embarrassed about what I talk about. When I'm recording these videos, I'm not. But I have had enough personal experiences in my life with Maitreya, either whether it was saving me from an accident or actually meeting him in my own life or whatever, or seeing some of these miraculous signs like the crosses of light or even seeing UFOs and so forth. And I talk about it, I know it sounds crazy to people. And I know there's not a lot of proof or evidence that I can provide to really convince you. That's why I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just talking about this. And you can believe whatever you want to believe in the end. But the most important thing that I found, whether you believe this information about what I talk about with Maitreya or you don't, if you can take away anything from this, is that we need to create peace. As a people, we need to create peace. Now, the way that we're doing it, or trying to do it as a global community, isn't working because it hasn't worked. The only way to create peace, according to what Maitreya says, is to bring about the principle of sharing. That's why I talk about it in every single video. It's the most important thing that you can look at. So if you don't believe when I'm talking about Maitreya being the way to teacher, that's fine. If you believe it, that's fine too. But either way, I think the most important thing that we need to start looking at is the need to bring about peace. Nations must learn to trust one another better than they have been in order for us to solve the problems that are facing humanity. It's a global problem, like the environment is a global problem. Terrorism is a global problem. You know, violence, war, crime, global problems. Economic diversity and starvation and hunger is a global problem. The only way to solve those problems is together. It involves every single nation working together at some level. And the only way to do that is they have to trust one another. And the only evidence that I can provide to you that what the teacher is saying is true is to look at the Marshall Plan. Provided a link to Wikipedia, finally. I thought I had it in there, but I guess I didn't. So, moving forward, there is a link to Wikipedia where you can read all about the Marshall Plan. And you can see all the nations that participated in the Marshall Plan. You can see that what I was saying is true, that those nations didn't always get along historically. And ever since the implementation of the Marshall Plan after World War II, they started trusting one another better. And funny thing was, is I just read this the other day, that the Truman signed it into law on my birthday, March 31st. So that's pretty cool. The only thing that usually happens on my birthday is coupons expire and I have to pay my car tags. So to have something historic happen on my birthday is kind of cool, actually. I really think it's cool, especially since it was the first time that the masters have said is the principle sharing actually took place. Unfortunately, it stopped. So Maitreya is advocating that every nation participate in a global Marshall Plan, really is what it amounts to. So, but let's dive into a question that somebody asked. Derek Begault, I think, asked, how do I know about Maitreya? And so the only way I can say is I studied a lot of information that Benjamin Creme put out there in his books in Share International Magazine. I went to his lectures. I used to go to the conferences that he put on and so forth in San Francisco for years, and took advantage of the time that he was coming to the United States and talking to us in that way. But I stumbled across his information by going to a bookstore with a friend of mine, and I found Maitreya's Mission Volume 2. It's a wonderful book. I do recommend it. It's a little dated, but it gives you a lot of really good information, not only about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, their priorities and so forth, but a lot of really good information about the Ageless Wisdom Teachings and how it relates to not only religion, but spirituality, politics, economics, and everything like that. It's a wonderful book to read. When I first read it, I didn't like it. So I understand people like Ike Simerson who thinks it's bunk, because I thought the same thing too, when I first read it. But it took me having to investigate it more for myself. And then I started to kind of make sense to me, and then I was like, I can see it was what really didn't make sense in the beginning is nothing seemed practical when I first just read it on first reading. When I started to kind of dive into it, it seemed practical. It seemed more real. It seemed, it didn't seem woo-woo, as they would say, or mystical. It seemed much more scientific in that way. So anyway, hopefully you'll have the same experience. If not, it might take you a little longer before you see the truth to it. But, it's for each and every one of us to do it on our own. So, but I know it sounds crazy. Now, but thank you very much for your question, Derek. Hopefully that answered your question. Now, I want to read an article entitled The Benefactors by Benjamin Creme's Master. And the one thing I want to point out, if you listen to the first sentence, where he says, every generation brings into incarnation those souls who are equipped to deal with the problems of the time. And I have to remind myself, because this is an esoteric cosmic law that every generation has within it the experience, the knowledge, the equipment, or whatever it is to solve the problems that it faces. And if you look historically, you can see that it's true. And even to today, with all the problems that we've been facing, all the things that seem insurmountable, we're still here. So we're doing something. Now, we need to do more, or we won't be here much longer, but it's important to also realize that we have it within us to deal with this too. Even the divisions that we're seeing, there's a reason why we have the political and economic, social divisions, those kind of things, divisions in thought, divisions in racial views and so forth. It's coming to a head, but there's a reason why we're going through this as we're going through this. But it's also important to remember that we have the ability to get through this, and we are going to get through this. According to the masters, we're going to work through this. It's just a temporary thing. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, it's creating a lot of fear and doubt in everyone, and we're all kind of grasping for straws on what's next. But if you can take anything from this, whether it's the need for peace or whatever, if you can take a little bit of hope with you throughout your day, and like maybe possibly we'll get through this, that will mean a lot too. So hopefully you'll see what I'm seeing when I read this article. This is coming from one of the masters, and as I always like to say, this is a great way to see how these masters will be teaching us. If you're about the ideas, the purpose, the intentions, the priorities of Maitreya and these masters and so forth. And you can read these articles for yourself by going to the Share International website, and there's a little tab to the left entitled Articles by the Master. This one's entitled The Benefactors. Every generation brings into incarnation those souls who are equipped to deal with the problems of the time. This statement is an esoteric truism to which more attention should be paid. In it lies hope for the future and guarantee of progress. It also gives an insight into the workings of the plan. Faced as they are with adversity and trial, men tend to see the world as hostile and life as haphazard. They fail to see the continuity and beauty of the unfolding evolutionary plan. In reality, all is working towards the good. Naught there is of trial and pain but leads eventually to greater understanding and peace. Could men but see the intricate workings of that karmic process, they would marvel at the justice and majesty of the plan. As it is, they know not that all proceeds under law. Lost in fear and doubt, they turn their backs upon the evidence of their experience and deny the existence of law. Yet a backwards glance through history would reveal the steady onward progress of mankind. Each epoch has seen the unfolding of some facet of man's potential. Each century, the emergence of men and women of genius, whose radiance and resource has enriched the lives of all. Through the discoveries, their arts and sciences, these benefactors of the race have led humanity forward, bearing the fruits of the Spirit for all to see. Thus has it been for untold ages, testifying to the efficacy of the plan. And thus will it continue till all is perfected and a new day begins upon another star. Cycle after cycle, bringing their gifts of insight and experience, wave upon wave of souls have met and overcome the challenges of the time. Never for long has mankind faltered, however dark the image the history presents. Never for long has man left unattended. Brief indeed were the terms bereft of guidance, and even then the light was there for those with eyes to see. Group law conditions this manifestation, while the law of service impels the groups to cooperation with the plan. Myriads of souls await their call to service, drawn to incarnation by the magnet of their ray. Age after age the call sounds forth, and time upon time the group responds. Hearkening to the need, they enter gladly, ready to do battle with ignorance and fear. This time of test is no exception. Already in the centers, the vanguard wait. Trained and prepared, they know their roles and parts, and know too that victory will be theirs. Trust then the plan, and know that naught for long can hinder its fulfillment. Know that the great ones, in their wisdom, foresee all needs. Know too that all can enter into service and share the burden of the task. The present time is one of special opportunity. Seldom, if ever, has such a one been known. Take your places in the forefront of the servers and enter the lists of the side of God. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos. Thank you.